It's no secret that STAX is one of the most effective strategies for winning at Commander and losing your friends in the process. But what if I told you that there's a way that you can build a STAX deck that doesn't create the same kind of grief for your opponents, but still embodies that feeling of untouchableness that STAX provides? Well, the main issue with STAX effects like Ghostly Prison or Propaganda, whatever, is that by taxing an opponent's mana to attack you or to cast their spells, it slows down their game because that mana that they're spending towards the tax is now not going towards advancing their board. This in turn slows down the entire game, which overall is a bad thing, as games do need to come to an end. Casting spells is what everyone came to the table to do, so it's absolutely miserable to have your ability to cast spells messed with. And in a multiplayer format, players will often just not attack the STAX player and turn their attention elsewhere in order to not slow down their natural progression rate. Another hard part about playing against STAX is that to cast a removal spell on a Ghostly Prison type card, it generally feels bad. As is the nature of the multiplayer format, you're generally hoping that the other players will waste their spot removal getting rid of a threatening card so that you can selfishly hold onto your spot removal to defend yourself against a threat that's specifically targeting you. So what is the solution? Well, we simply have to play STAX cards that tax an opponent's life, not their mana. Life is an abundant resource in Commander that players generally feel less bad about being taxed on, and players paying life speeds up the progression of the game, while not stopping your opponents from enjoying playing their deck. Put simply, paying life helps end the game, and paying mana slows down the game. So, getting into the deck. McCready is going to be the commander for the deck. McCready is a 2-mana 1/3 human advisor that says, whenever a creature with power 2 or less attacks, it gains Skulk until end of turn, meaning it can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. This is especially good with creatures who have more toughness than their power, as it essentially means they will never die to a singular block. And whenever an opponent attacks you with a creature with power 4 or greater, that opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So, in addition to having a STAX theme, of course we're going to fit a power 2 or less theme in here. So strong cards like Delny, Saradoc, Enduring Innocence will all make the list, along with all the other usual suspects in the white power 2 or less archetype. Now, let's start off with those juicy STAX cards. These are the cards that are going to make us feel untouchable and give us a benefit whenever our opponents try to do anything. Mangara and Tomic will both draw us a card whenever an opponent tries to attack us with 2 or more creatures, and Tomic will also hit them for 3. Norn's Annex is going to tax them life whenever they go to attack us, just like our commander. And if they do manage to land the hit on us, Machiko will have them sacrificing a permanent for each creature that got through, and Big Tesa will destroy any creature that gets through and hits us, while giving us a spirit token. Notably, if you have both of these cards in play, you should first let Tesa destroy the creature that hit you, and then have them sacrifice a permanent to Machiko. Esper Sentinel and Lotho are going to give us occasional ramp and card draw whenever our opponents cast spells, and Kambal is going to drain them for 2 whenever they go for a non-creature spell. Speaking of creatures, this deck runs 42 of them, so Thalia will be on board here to tax the table for the non-creature spells by 1. But hey, it's symmetrical, so it's fair, right? Another way we can lay on the STAX is with hostage effects, which are cards that can sit on the board and present a threat whenever we decide to activate them, like Intrepid Hero and Royal Assassin for example, which sit on defense getting ready to remove any creature that dares swing our direction. Bounty Agent can also sit on the board menacingly, and whenever we want to sacrifice it to destroy a legendary permanent, we can do so. Take a look at the card Dokuchi Silencer. Whenever it connects, you get to discard a creature card from your hand to destroy target creature or planeswalker. This, in combination with the Skulk that you get from McCready, essentially turns every single creature card in the deck into 0-mana Hero's Blade, which is insane, especially when we're running 42 creature cards. King Makar is kinda similar, where when he untaps, you get to exile target creature and create a gold token, which is essentially a slightly better treasure token, and with Skulk, we can easily attack with him to get him tapped down, so that when it makes it to our upkeep, he can untap and get the trigger. Lastly, in this sort of hostage category, we've got Devout Champion, which can tap itself and 2 other untapped humans to exile target artifact or enchantment. Now you might be thinking, well, don't you need a lot of humans to get that card going? Well, if you haven't noticed already, Human Typal is an active sub-theme in the deck, with 36 human cards and various more cards that generate human tokens. So, moving into Human Typal. Adeline has arrived bringing her army of humans whenever we attack, as well as Cosmo Grand Zenith bringing in the recruits or pumping the team whenever we cast our second spell. Species Specialist is doing crazy work choosing human when it enters. Whenever a human dies, we draw a card. This includes our human tokens, and this includes our opponent's humans. And with humans being the most popular type, this is going to be catching us extra cards all over the place. It's especially good pre-board wipe as we're going to refill our hand. Now, of our 36 human cards, 15 of them are legendary humans, so General's Enforcer is happy to join the party, giving them all indestructible. And Xanthra Necromancer will give us a 2/2 zombie whenever a human we control dies, giving our whole board essentially a second wave of effectiveness. And of course, we can't forget about the absolute strongest human card to ever be printed, Roaming Throne. Once again, anytime you play a deck with even a little bit of typal support, Roaming Throne makes the list, as it's honestly too good a card to pass up. Even if you aren't really playing a Kindred deck, if you just have a commander that has a strong triggered ability, and you want that triggered ability to happen a second time, Roaming Throne is worth it in most cases. New card, Friendly Neighborhood from the Spider-Man set, will give us 3 human tokens for 4 mana, while giving a land we control the ability to pump a creature up by +1/+1 for each creature we control. So, speaking of the number of creatures in play, with all these creatures in play, the whole go wide mechanic is obviously going to be very much in our favor, and we want to put as many go wide cards in the deck as we can. I really like the mobilize mechanic for this, because the warrior tokens we get will essentially be unblockable because of the skulk that McCready gives them. Call the Coppercoast is a great card that's always going to keep us ahead on creatures, and Olatech Matterweaver will give us a gnome token for every creature spell we cast, or potentially a treasure or gold token if we have one of those in play. Now, one of my favorite parts about playing a token strategy is that we can play Westvale Abbey, paying 5 mana, tapping it, and sacrificing 5 creatures to get a huge 9/7 lifelink flying indestructible demon. And we can do this at instant speed too, so if somebody wipes the board, we can cash in our tokens and get an indestructible demon that will live through the board wipe. Or you could even just use it as a flash indestructible blocker to sometimes catch someone off guard if they're not paying attention. Okay, next is one of my all-time favorite humans. But first, if you are enjoying this video, please do consider subscribing to my channel and turning the notifications on so you'll be informed when I upload again, as I'd really love to have you come back for the next video. Thanks. Okay, so Commissar Severina Rain is one of my favorite Orzhov legends. She's a 2/2 who will dome each opponent for X life, where X is the number of other attacking creatures whenever she attacks. She can also cash in our creatures as clue tokens to keep our hand full, while also gaining us a little bit of life in the process. Her issue is that with no evasion, she can be tricky to get to survive through combat. But alongside McCready giving her Skulk, she's able to survive through combat, so every turn we can continue to get this amazing attack trigger. Okay. But let's just say that McCready is out of commission. Delny is out of commission, so we need a way to get our creatures through, and we can't rely on Skulk. Another absolutely busted card, which is going to help our creatures attack and get through, is Reconnaissance. Reconnaissance is an enchantment for 1 mana that has an ability, pay 0, remove target attacking creature you control from combat, and untap it. Now, there's reminder text on here just so people don't get mad when you pull off this crazy shenanigans, because it says, if you activate during the end of combat step, the creature will untap after it deals combat damage. Yes, this is because creatures are technically attacking all the way until the end of combat step after damage has already been dealt. So this 1 mana enchantment essentially reads, all your creatures have vigilance, and it synergizes with tap and untap effects, and any creature that you attack with that gets blocked in a way that's not profitable, you can just decide, actually, no thanks, and pull it out of combat. With Reconnaissance in play, you can attack with every single creature, every single turn, risk-free, and you don't have to give any blockers because all your creatures essentially have vigilance. So, speaking of things that can keep our creatures alive and protect them, we've also got some great protection effects that are slapped on top of humans. And then of course, since we're going really wide, we want to put a couple great strong finisher cards in there to seal the win. Now, because we are actively nerfing ourselves by playing creatures that primarily are power 2 or less, we need to play cards that cash in the benefit and reward us for going with this type of archetype, which of course is these one-sided high power hate cards. Meekstone perhaps is the most toxic of these type of cards, which for 1 mana is an artifact that says, creatures with power 3 or greater don't untap during their untap step, locking down all creatures that commit to a tap. And besides Roaming Throne, the only creature cards in the deck that have power 3 or greater actually all have vigilance, so you'll never be upset that Meekstone is in play. We're also running a ton of board wipes that just hit creatures with power 3 or greater, with Elspeth, Sun's Champion also generating tokens and having a great finisher slapped on the ultimate as well. Now, with so many different cards that are going to be one-sided board wipes for us, feel free to just cast one of these cards even if you're only hitting a couple of creatures, because you'll likely draw into another one if you need another one later. Special shout out goes to Unstoppable Slasher getting Skulk to more consistently dome your opponent for half their life. and Halo Fountain for adding generic value to our game plan by generating tokens and drawing us cards, with having the cool fringe alternative win con of if we ever get 15 tapped creatures in play, we can just win the game. Also, of course, Ascend from Avernus, which is so incredible in our deck with our average mana value largely on mana value 3. With X equals 3, total mana value 6, we can essentially reanimate our entire graveyard. So that pretty much wraps it up. This is already my new favorite deck to play. With 0 game changers, it can actually sit at a bracket 2 table, it fights very comfortably at bracket 3, and it can sort of hold its own against some low powered bracket 4. If you're enjoying the content, please do consider joining the Discord. We're always having cool discussions about deck building in there, and your ideas might contribute to a future video, so definitely come along, we're happy to have you. And while you're at it, maybe leave a like on this video, you know? Maybe show some love. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.